The federal government is launching an action plan to combat human trafficking. This will involve a special law enforcement team which will try to target, locate, and prosecute traffickers. Thousands of people are brought into this country every year illegally. Many end up in the sex trade.
Yeah, that's a sad reality for some. Here to discuss the problem is Shay Invidiata, the founder of Free Them. It's an organization assisting victims, and also Timia Nagy, a survivor of human trafficking, and she is program director of Walk With Me Victim Services Canada. Good to see you both. It is a huge problem. Timia, I want to start with you. You are living proof of what individuals go through. What happened to you? You were so young. You were 19, came here to Canada. You thought with the promise of a job, but what happened?
Yeah, I came to Canada and I thought I'm going to be a babysitter and a nanny or cleaning toilets for Hungarian families living in Canada. But when I arrived, I was told that that job is no longer available. As a matter of fact, I was taken to a motel and a strip joint, and I was forced to strip. I wasn't allowed to leave the motel, and on occasion we were forced to going to massage places as well.
Shay, how many stories do you hear like this? How many people are involved? How big a problem is this in Canada?
Every day there are more victims that we are dealing with, and the more research that's coming forward. Ontario, Southwest Ontario, is the largest problem in all of Canada with cases before the courts, the most recorded. So right here, you know, you think in your own backyard, this does not happen. It's not happening here in Canada because we're the true North, strong and free. And yet, right where we're sitting, not far from this studio, not far from Toronto, you know, in each of our communities, trafficking is happening.
Well, and the reality is, it's hard for even experts to put a number on how many people are being trafficked, right? I mean, I saw a statistic up to 800 people a year are trafficked into this country, but even they say, we don't know if that's the true number or not. So now, we had a private members bill that was passed back in 2009. Now, what the feds are doing is they're putting some real money behind it, right? $25 million over 4 years. The most, greatest amount towards policing.
Correct.
Shay, is this the way to solve it? Or you must be encouraged to have the money here.
I think I could say for both of us, we are very excited. Something we've been pushing for from the Harper government for years. And now that this has come into place, the first line that really does need this training and money is our law enforcement. Because if they don't know how to identify it, if they don't know how to go in and rescue these girls, then how are we supposed to get them out? And we do still need a substantial amount for victim services once these girls are out that we can dedicate to it. But as a first step, you have to have our law enforcement trained. So we're excited.
You know, Katie, I don't think most Canadians understand how this works, so maybe you can help us out with this. How do victims get brought into the country? Do you have documents? How do they keep you from going to authorities? How does that work?
Before I get into that, there is international human trafficking and there is domestic human trafficking, and we have both on a pretty high level. So, but just to give you a number, Walk With Me have served about 86 victims in 2 years. Out of 86 victims, 90% of our victims were Canadian girls. So before we even go into the bigger picture of how the trafficked victims getting into Canada, I just want to really highlight that the victims are already here. And in these days, the traffickers don't really have to leave Canada to find vulnerable victims. But to answer your question, the victims that are brought into Canada from other countries, they mainly come in legally, not on the boats. You know, they are not stuffed in trucks. They come in through the borders with student visas and all kinds of legal ways. The traffickers find legal ways to get them in the country.
So how are women from here targeted, though, if you're saying that's the reality, if they're already here?
This is a game that actually CTV broke a news on this not long ago. It's really called, it's not love, really. It's human traffickers that are using love. Young male, Canadian male, using love and a Romeo effect to lure vulnerable young girls from smaller towns, broken homes to the big city with all kinds of promises. You don't have to go to Thailand to find a victim. They are here.
I speak in a lot of in the high schools, and part of what I do is I'm teaching our young girls, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old, about what I call the wooing process. You know, they might see a girl at the mall, they're with their friends, places like Square One in Mississauga, and they're approached by an older male who really is wooing them, tells them how beautiful they are, gets their number, takes them for coffee, buys them clothing, and over a period of time, the I love you drops, you're the most beautiful girl in the entire world to me, and that 13 and 14 years old, which in Canada, the average age of entry is 13 years old. So when you're 13,
That's
you think...
shocking, stunning. I can't believe that.
It's beyond shocking. And so these girls, you know, at 13, 14, 15 years old, they really think that they love this man who is practically a man. Most of them are 19 plus. And so, you know, it's hard for these girls to really be able to see and pull away from that, so that when that, you know, pimp trafficker says, I need you to do this, that's part of the problem. And I mean, to me, I can tell you, part of the problem that we have with girls not being able to testify because they're so convinced that these pimps, these traffickers are in fact their boyfriends.
So up until now, no one has been tasked with prosecuting, even investigating human trafficking. Now there's going to be a task force. That must be encouraging to you.
Yes, human trafficking is a crime where the human traffickers are mainly very organized, and they move as quick as possible from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, because they know very well that Canada doesn't have a human traffic task force. So if they start trafficking in Oakville and they go all the way to Peel region and Montreal, there's no way to catch them. So this is a really, really fantastic news.
It's a disturbing process that you've given us a window on, and hopefully this will make a difference. We'll continue to track Shea Invidiata, Tamia Nagy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This morning.